Hello everyone, we are continuing our first day of Mobile Z Days conference, and now we will be talking about Combine and how to migrate from RxSwift to Combine. And with that, I gladly announce your next speaker, who is Vladimir Burdukov, who is our reactive addicted iOS engineer by day and Rust maniac by night. Hello, Vladimir.
Hello.
Okay, so now we will be talking about Combine. One more thing from last year's WWDC, right?
Yeah. I was so happy when they announced it and decided, wow, I need to write something with help of Combine. And then it took about, I don't know, half a year to start writing real code with it.
Yeah, so I think we can start now and let's talk about RxSwift and Combine and how to migrate them.
Okay, yeah, let's get started. So let me introduce myself first. So my name is Vladimir Burdukov. I'm a functional and reactive programming addict since 2013 and RxSwift user since 2015. I'm one of authors of small Rx-based networking library called GNOME. I'm a lead software engineer at EPAM by day and Rust maniac by night. So first, let me tell you about our agenda for today. In the beginning, I'm going to briefly overview and compare RxSwift and Combine core elements. So since we're going to use them in our next step, demo session. So in demo session, I'm going to convert my library from RxSwift to Combine and try to use it in some tests. And in the end, I will tell you about issues which I experienced during my transition to Combine. So let's compare core stuff from RxSwift and Combine. So as you may know, reactive programming is all about streams and changing these streams. So a core element of each reactive networking library is streams. So in RxSwift, we can use class observable. It is a generic class with a generic parameter element. In Combine, we have protocol called publisher with two associated types, output and failure. So if we want to create a stream in Combine, we need to adopt this protocol and declare exact types for our stream. If we decide that we don't need to declare any error, so if we are sure that our stream cannot fail, we can declare failure type as null. Okay, next core part of reactive programming library is receivers. So to implement a receiver in RxSwift, we need to use protocol observer type and protocol subscriber in Combine. Both of them have associated types to declare the input or element which this observer or subscriber can consume. And in Combine, again, we need to declare failure type for our subscriber. Sometimes we need to cancel some work inside our stream. So in RxSwift, we can use disposable for that purpose. And in Combine, we can use cancelable and subscription protocols. Cancelable inherits from subscription, they're connected. So cancelable usually it's a public part of our interface. And the last, but most interesting part, since we often use it to bind our code, our imperative code, and our reactive code subjects. So in RxSwift, we have publish subject and behavior subject, and their counterparts in Combine, pass-through subject and current value subject. So we'll meet pass-through subject a little bit later. So it's time for demo. So let's switch to my code. Here I have this library declared with all its files and some tests. And these tests could help me to explain what this library is about. So we've created this library with my colleagues from my past company to achieve two goals. First one is to able to extract data from URL cache in a similar way how we do this with usual network requests. And another one is to parse the data that we extracted from real network requests or cached to a model or to an array of models. So sometimes we need to do this. So how we can do this with this library? So we have this generic class request. To initialize it, we need to specify an exact type that we want to parse into what we want to parse our models, and URL string. Actually, there are many more parameters that we can specify, method, various query parameters, and so on. But in this example, we're going to use only this. And then when we create a request, we can create an observable. So we can do something like this and check what happens here. So as a result, we get this observable of responses. So in case of this method for models, we get only one response, and then this observable is completed. And this response is typed, so we'll receive the array of our models. So let's check that all my tests are passing before we start our transition. Yeah, something is happening. Yeah, here we have a lot of tests. Yeah, that's it. Everything is working. So first, let's fix this class called session delegate. This is a URL session data delegate for our URL session, so we can configure it and work with it if we need to receive data from cache or not from cache. So first, yeah, let's replace RxSwift with Combine and build our application. So here we have first errors. So as you remember, I mentioned that we can use pass-through subject as a counterpart of publish subject from RxSwift. So let's do this. To work with strings in Combine, we need to specify two generic parameters, output and failure. In my case, it can be some generic error, I don't know exact type, but that works for now. Then I need to fix these observable somehow. So probably we can use publisher for this. Unfortunately, we can't, because publisher is a protocol with associated types inside it, so we cannot use it directly. So luckily, we have any publisher. This is just a wrapper around any publisher that we want to put inside. So again, we need to specify output and failure to work with it. So unfortunately, we cannot convert between subject and any publisher as is, since any publisher is a struct and pass-through subject is a class. So we have this awesome erase to any publisher method that helps us to base code. Let's build it and check. So with these two lines, everything is fine. So let's move on. Here I have my code, which converts my imperative code into data stream. So in case of error, I'm sending errors. In case of success, I'm sending data and HTTP response and completes this stream. So let's check what we can do with errors first. So we can terminate our stream in two ways. First, it can be failure, or we can finish with some success case. So we can use this method to finish with error. Okay, yeah, let's quickly fix these methods too. And error we need here. Okay, then we need to send some value into our stream. For this, we can use method send without any labels. And at the end, we need to complete our stream. For this, we can use the same method send completion, but with case finished. So now everything is fine with this class. Okay, let's check what we have next. So the first error that we got here is from this any publisher that we declared inside our session delegate. So as you remember, it has type any publisher. So any publisher doesn't have this awesome doOnDispose method that we had for observable in RxSwift. Fortunately, they have another method called handle events, and one of its arguments called receive cancel. We can use it to do our cancellation work. Because if a subscriber dropped connection to our publisher, we don't need to continue our data task. So we probably need to cancel it. Okay, so now let's fix this class. It's a pretty big class to do. First, again, we'll replace RxSwift with combine, but we have more issues here. So here we have a lot of observables. So as I said, instead of observable, we can use any publisher, mostly everywhere. So probably we can replace it easily, observable with any publisher, but we need to add a failure type to all these streams too. So I created a very small regular expression for this, so we can do this much more faster than doing this manually. Okay, so you can see now I have a lot of any publishers here. So first error, yeah. Again, since we declared that this method returns any publisher, but handle events, it returns struct called handle events. Yeah, here. So we need to wrap it into our any publisher with help of arrays to any publisher. Okay, so here I have three methods for single requests. One for receive module from network, another one to receive it from cache, and third one, it combines two of them. First, we receive data from cache, we can display that data to user, and then we start our request to network and refresh that data on user screen. So let's fix first method in this functionality. So here I have this observable method. I will probably rename it later, but not right now. So first, let's fix this observable.deferred syntax. So we don't have the same awesome syntax in combine, since publisher is a protocol, so we cannot call static methods in it. But we have a lot of structs which we can use instead. So in this case, we can replace it with deferred struct, with a generic parameter which declares the underlying publisher, and with this closure, which creates our publisher. Okay, so here I have a lot of errors. So first of them is about any publishers. So let's raise it to any publisher. And another error is about throwing errors inside this closure. So unfortunately, we cannot propagate this error into our publisher since we don't know the exact type of this failure. So to handle this properly, let's wrap this with do catch and return fail instead of some exact string. So as said, we can replace it with bookage and return fail. We need to declare output type. It is data and response in my case, and error. Oh, yeah, so we got some error here, so we need to send an exact failure right here. So we fixed this one. Okay, yeah, we have one more issue with throwing errors. So we cannot throw an error inside map as we could in RxSwift. But fortunately, we have a hack here, so we can use try_map. So try_map helps us to map our results somehow and throw an error in case of any failures. Let's leave this for other time. Okay, so since we have any publisher declared here, so again we need to raise to any publisher our string. So this method is fixed. So let's move on. Now I have this method parse to convert my data, which I received from network or from URL cache, into my model and wrap it into response type. So in RxSwift, we can use observable.create or observable.defer to create some publishers. But in Combine, we have another way to do this. So we have futures. So if we are sure that we want to create some piece of work, declare some piece of work, and it will be one-time shot, similar to single in RxSwift, we can use future. So let's try to do this. We have future here. It gives us completion closure. So we either need to call it with failure or success. So let's call it. In case of error, we need to provide it with failure case of result type. Remove this stuff, I don't need it anymore. And in case of success, so we need to call it with success and send response into it. Okay. Oh yeah, here I have the subscribe on method to schedule my work in another thread because I don't want to bother main thread with this work. But let's check what happens here now. Okay, yeah. Let's raise it to any publisher and check if it compiles. Yeah, so this method is fine. Now let's fix this subscribe on. So to do this, we can use similar method from Combine, subscribe on. But instead of providing some specific scheduler into it, we can use dispatch queue or run loop directly. So here you may see that I'm using global queue with this quality of service class that I declare inside my request. Okay, let's check it again. Okay, that's fine. We have some more errors to fix. So here I have one more compilation error. So as I already mentioned, but I want to elaborate on this a little bit. Each operator on publisher returns a struct. So it returns some specific type. And to use it with any publisher, we need to call arrays to any publisher again. I have a lot of this stuff now here. So this method should work now. So let's fix the next method. Here I have this cached models method. So yeah, here everything is fine, but in this if catch errors statement, I need to fix something. So this branch, I needed to return an empty string in case of error. This is pretty useful for my cache and fetch method, where I need to complete my first request to cache and then start another request to network. If we fail our cached request, then everything will be very bad because we will not start our next request. So hopefully we have similar method, similar operator for publishers in Combine. We have this catch. Instead of using empty method in observable, we can use empty struct. And here we need to specify our types, output and failure. So in this case, I have this response type and error type in case of error. And again, we want to erase everything to any publisher. Let's check it. Okay, it works. Okay, the last method for single request I have here, cache then fetch. Okay, it's fixed very easily. So instead of concat, we have append method, and we need to erase it to any publisher again. Okay, single request methods, all of them are fixed. So let's comment this for a while and check my tests, because I have some of them that test this functionality. At the moment, let's disable these tests because they won't compile. And let's run them. Okay, I have some errors here too. So first errors is about my test responses. So I have some stops for my tests, because I don't want to execute real network requests during unit testing. So I already fixed all of them. So all fixes are just about finding proper type inside Combine to match our behavior that we had for RxSwift. Let's compile it again. A few more errors. Oh, yeah, let's add one, because I used to use Rx blocking library to test my streams. It's pretty handy to work with it, since we can block until some timeout and then check what result we got from our observable. Unfortunately, Combine doesn't give us something like this out of the box. So that's why I had to write my own library. At the moment, I placed it near my minimum library and called it a blocking subscriber. So now, yeah, we have a lot of RxSwift stuff here. So let's replace all import RxSwift with import Combine. Not so much, actually. And all Rx blocking with blocking subscriber. Let's check what's going on here. Okay, we have one more error. So now my toBlocking method is declared as throws. So I have a lot of errors, compilation errors to fix now. Hopefully, I know how to do this fast. Okay, perfect. So let's check my test. Okay. Oh yeah, this from Rx blocking library, so I don't need this anymore. Well, it's compiling. Oh, it was pretty fast. Okay, a lot of tests are parsed. Everything is fine. Okay, let's move on with our refactoring. So from now, we need to fix these multiple request methods. So they consume an array of requests, and we want to execute these requests in parallel, then combine their results into one stream to produce an array of responses. So let's fix this. Yeah, here I have some issues. Unfortunately, Combine doesn't give us possibility to combine latest for many requests. So they have only for two publishers, for 3 and for 4. That's it. So that's why I had to implement my own operator for this. I called it combine latest many. I will walk through it a little bit later, but for now, let's simply use it. To use it, I need to import it first, of course. Okay. Called combine latest many. We need to provide it with an array of my publishers. I have one more custom operator here called as result. I needed to catch all errors and send them as a failure case of result instead of terminating my stream. So first, again, let's replace everything with combine. So here I declared the similar as result method for my publishers. So as I said, instead of returning output and failure as is, I want to wrap them into result type. And since we already called all errors, we can say that error cannot happen, never. Okay, so we don't need this observable type anymore. And let's get back to my HTTP client. So that should work now. Okay, again, we need to raise it to any publisher. And since I declare that my as result returns failure type never, I need to fix this too. Okay, one thing left, I need to return an empty array if I didn't get any request from a user of this library. So we can use just for this. We need to provide it with some value and again raise it to any publisher. And here I have this cached models method. It fixes in a similar way. So let's copy this. Again, we need to fix never. So let's build it. Oh yeah, thanks Apple for this awesome notebook with sleeping keys. Okay, it succeeded. Oh yeah, I need to enable these tests first. What's going on? Actually, here I have one issue. I know about it. So here I use .empty method from observable, and we don't have something similar in combine. So what we can do, we can use empty and erase it to any publisher. And I haven't fixed this method yet, so let's skip this part of my test and check everything else. Yeah, it takes some time to build. Let's check my tests. Okay, everything is green. Perfect. So that's mostly it. I have some methods to fix, such as cache and fetch for multiple requests, but nothing more. So let's get back to my presentation to discuss blocking subscriber and combine latest many. So let's start from blocking subscriber. So actually it's a copy-paste from Rx blocking library. So I will use the same idea of using CF run loop with or without timeout inside it. And it declares subscriber protocol inside it with these 3 methods, which we need to implement. First method is receive subscription. In case of testing, we just need to save the subscription. Subscription is a protocol which implements method cancel. So if we want to terminate our subscription earlier than it terminates by itself, we can use this method. So, and we'll use it a little bit later. Then we need to implement the core method for subscribers receiving inputs. So in case of blocking subscriber, we just need to store them into some array. I'm not going to tell you about subscribers.demand struct. It's a pretty interesting stuff which Apple introduced in Combine. But we need to know if we don't have anything to send, if we don't have anything to receive anymore. So we just need to cancel our subscription and stop everything inside this blocking subscriber. And the last part is receive completion. So as I said, we can terminate our stream either by failure or finished cases. So here I just need to store this and stop my execution. Then it works this in a similar way as Rx blocking library. So I just return only one element or array of elements, or for example, we can return this materialized sequence result with elements or elements in failure. Okay, now let's talk about Combine latest menu. Oh, I spent a lot of time on this. But yeah, let's discuss this step by step. To implement some custom operator in Combine, we need to implement these three items: publisher, subscription, and subscriber. We can combine them into one class sometimes, but in this case, I have three classes and two classes and one struct. Let's get started from publisher. Oh no, first I want to tell you about this operator a little bit, how it works under the hood. So I have a publisher. Publisher connects an array, each underlying publisher from an array that we passed inside it. It connects it with sites. Sites, just simple subscribers that observe changes from publisher and forward them to subscription with indices. So if we receive something from publisher 1, then we add index 0 to our value that we received from it and forward it into subscription. Similar with other sites. Then subscription combines everything into one array, and when it gets all the values at least once from each subscriber, it creates this array and set it to subscriber. So to implement a publisher, we need to declare output and failure type for it. So in case of Combine latest main, output is an array of outputs of my upstream publishers from my array, and failure type is the same. So if one of my publisher is failed, I will fail with a similar failure. And we need to implement this receive subscriber method. So what we have here, as I said, publisher connects all pieces of my operator. First, we creating a subscription, and we're holding publishers inside it and exact subscriber. Then we connect each publisher to its own subscriber. We're creating these subscribers with indices so we can know which publisher fired this event. And in the end, we need to notify subscriber that we received from some other parts of our code that we created this subscription, and if subscriber wants to cancel it, it can do it with the subscription and implemented method cancel inside it. Yeah, you remember this method from my blocking subscriber example. Okay, let's talk about issues now. So when I saw these opaque types from Swift 5.1, I was so excited and thought, wow, I can use this now for my reactive code, and especially for combine. But unfortunately, they don't work for publishers. Why? Let's discuss this. So first, because as you may know from SwiftUI, we need to return from all branches of our code, we need to return the same type of our OPAC type. So in this case, in my guard else case, I have fail type. And in case of success, I return publishers.mapstruct. Yeah, they don't match. Let's imagine that we found a way to match them, for example, with erase_any_publisher method. But now we face with another issue. So let's imagine that we create a binary framework for our library and expose this some publisher interface. Unfortunately, the compiler will not know the exact type that we declared inside our method. Okay, compiler which will compile our framework will know this because it needs to know that they match. But compiler that we will use for compiling our application, it will not know it. So we will not know exact output and failure types, since publisher just declares, I have them, but we don't know which types we have here. So what we can do, okay, we can use erase_any_publisher here. So it just wraps our publisher with same output and failure types and simply pass everything, like forward every event that happens with our underlying publisher to its subscriber. Next issue, no testing toolchain from Apple. Fortunately, this open source community is so cool. So they created some libraries that we can use for this. So endpoint test is an analog of RxTest with test scheduler, test publisher, and test subscriber classes. So if you're a big fan of RxTest and you used to use it in RxSwift, feel free to use endpoint test for the same purpose. And combine expectations. It is some kind of Rx blocking analog based on XC test case expectations. Since I have a lot of code written with Rx blocking, I decided to write my own library instead of using these combined expectations. Hopefully, okay, I plan to release my combined blocking library a little bit later, but at the moment it will be placed next to my sources for my mini-domain library. And the last issue, lack of familiar Rx operators. So no combine latest many, nor zip many, but they created merge many operator. Interesting. And for example, we don't have with latest from operator. I like it. I use it a lot in my RxSwift code. Again, thanks to open source community, we can use something that was created for us. I found endpoint library pretty useful. It implements some of our RxSwift operators, such as with latest from, or share and replay, and some more. But if you want to create something by your own, feel free to take inspiration from Open Combine project to implement them. So Open Combine project is a project from two guys, which so they simply re-implementing Combine as an open source project to be able to share it with platforms that are not macOS 10.15 or iOS version 13. Okay, what I have to say in conclusion. First, it's a good time to start transition of your code from RxSwift to Combine. As you saw, nothing much to change, especially for some networking code or data code. Yeah, to adapt these changes to your UI code, you'll need to do some more work. But fortunately, they have more things to use, such as assign subscriber, where we can assign values directly into some properties of our object. Unfortunately, Combine doesn't have so awesome community at the moment, mostly because it's a closed source framework and it's really hard to build an open source community around it. But as you saw, we have something, and there are many things to do both for Apple and the open source community to achieve, to make Combine really useful and like a first-party framework which we can use in our daily work. But we can do this right now with some issues. So that's it with my presentation, and now it's time for your questions.
Thank you very much, Vladimir. That was an interesting talk and live coding session. Let's see what we've got in questions. And we actually have got one interesting here. So we were discussing RxSwift migration, and I see the question that do we have an approach to migrate from reactive Swift instead? Do you think that's reasonable?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because I'm not a big fan of reactive Swift, actually, just because I was a big fan of reactive Coca library for Objective-C. But when they switched to Swift, yeah, they changed a lot. But as I know, they have a lot of things in common, and they already use this idea of using failure type in their streams. So that shouldn't be so hard. But yeah, probably I will need to write some code with the help of reactive Swift soon and prepare a next talk about reactive Swift and its migration to Combine.
Yeah, and in regards of hot and cold streams, well, Combine has a current subject publisher and pass-through subject publisher, which basically corresponds to the same things.
Yeah,
so yeah.
Since in RxSwift we don't differ hot and cold publishers, so they declare in a similar way, I'm pretty sure that we can. So it's much more easier to combine all publishers into one instead of splitting them to hot and cold. But yeah, that's thing that I need to check.
Yeah, so that would be it. So thank you very much for your talk and your in-depth review of migration practices. And for everybody, we are waiting for you on our next and the last talk for today, which will be covering identity management using blockchain in mobile. Thank you very much and see you.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.